As a general proposition, I normally do not pass on hearsay because I know the difference. We all do, right? About direct and indirect evidence, or direct and indirect experience. Because experience is the teacher, or the experience is the informer of what we're experiencing, running an operating system in physical matter, right? Okay, be that as it may, okay, I just saw a notice that was on my Facebook page by a young lady by the name of Lisa Wolf. I can't remember what tribe she's with, Wolf Clan, and had a post up there as if it's not being reported anywhere in the media around the world. Not that you would expect, right? Remember about placing expectations? The director of the play. Remember being on a collision course with some person, someplace, or something. If whatever that is not obeying you, the director of programming, the hive mind, artificial intelligence, right? You will obey. And so apparently, and I do remember that there was a case logged in, and we've been going back to logging in, logging out of the AI, right? Had logged, because that's what you do. You know what a case log is, log scales. Remember back to water distribution tables of hydrogen, H2O. Apparently, most people know who Robert Kennedy Jr. is, right? His father used to be the Attorney General of the United States when his brother John F. Kennedy was the President of the United States, right? They were brothers, and if you remember, they had a run-in with the mob, if you will, right? What's his name? Sam Giancana, as I remember it. Everything that went down in Dallas. When was that? November 1963. I was in 6th grade when that went down on the TV set with Walter Cronkite. The president has been shot. So I can remember I cried, and I felt the trauma, right? But Robert Kennedy's son, which is Robert Kennedy Jr., who's still alive, is an environmental lawyer. You know, he goes after folks that are not honorable, that are corrupt, cause harm to others, right? Had filed a case with the United States Supreme Court, and apparently all of the litigants, which means there's a plaintiff in this case and then a defendant, and the defendant is really one big corporate umbrella. Which, if you want to expand your consciousness level out, think of it as a black hole, a massive black hole that just got a black eye, courtesy of Robert F. Kennedy. Because apparently the Supreme Court has handed down a decision where Robert Kennedy had shown that the whole, wearing masks, the whole COVID thing, and all the jab stuff, that the evidence showed that it was genocide. Okay, a massive global crime against humans with souls. Now, for me, this naturally goes back to Nuremberg, because I was born in 1951. So my dad made sure that I understood what happened at Nuremberg, the Nuremberg transcripts. So I spent a lot of time going through a lot of the transcripts, read a lot of books on who all these. I've studied the Nazis like an obsession, okay? Which is what it really is studying how an AI war gamer, even though I already know how to do this, it wasn't like I wasn't prepared to come into an AI battlefield environment, because I am. That's why I'm a team leader on that stuff. And so obviously that includes everything else I've ever shared with everybody on my channel here. But I intently studied, it's like studying the mind of a war gamer, because remember, it's studying you and your moves. And they're always counter space moves, like on a chessboard, black and white, right? So it's gaming you for your energy. Just like if you play a game, we're going to play for money, like at a casino. It's a gambling casino. The mob, right? So the relationship that the Kennedys have with those families, those 13 bloodline families. Okay? Those seeded races that represent the extension of all those seeds, which are all those codes, which includes all the breeding experiments, which end up becoming geographical musical patterns of math codes, right? Which are communication codes in a grid. And so the Supreme Court has ruled on behalf of Robert F. Kennedy's claim that these are crimes against humans with souls, and the Supreme Court agreed. Okay, that makes under the Nuremberg Doctrine, take the time to go study the Nuremberg Doctrine. That meant if did you see how many folks were put on trial? Doctors, nurses. In other words, if you were a willing participant, which means you gave of your own consent to participate as an accessory to a war crime against humans with souls, you can be prosecuted. And you want to know who that means? The lady in the pharmacy down here that works at the local Walmart pharmacy. That means the pharmacy at Long's Drugs. Every pharmacy, not just in America, every pharmacy on the planet. If you worked in a pharmacy, then you were supporting what the pharmacy was doing as a corporate employee of that pharmacy that was selling that COVID stuff. Not the least of which is everything else that they sell in there that's meant to poison you. Okay? Because it's all about going after energy. Reducing your bandwidth, reducing your state of consciousness. So you end up being sucked down a black hole. Okay? That's what it does, siphons energy. So it's like checkmating a vacuum cleaner. Like a vacuum tube. And so that's a huge victory for those that are still alive that fought during World War II. Because here, I'll share you with history. I'm not gonna give a history lesson on what I learned after all the records that I went and looked through that I could, without getting into timeline wars and how those get hijacked as well. Yeah, I know, timeline wars. That's another subject. The timeline that occurred when the Allied forces shaped White Supreme Headquarters of Allied Command, with Ike and his crew. Now we're back in the gangsters, Ike and his crew. Yeah, corporate military. And so you saw what happened after those trials took place in Nuremberg. Okay, where security guards working in camps. They weren't doing what Mengele was doing. No, but he was there giving consent to be a part of what was being done there. An accessory to a war crime and a crime against humanity. Right? Remember Robert Jackson? There are crimes that civilization, a civilized being, just cannot tolerate to ignore. Well, feeding on somebody's energy, what is that? Well, where's the rule on that? Right? That's what it is. So this is a major marker in a military and a civilian translation. Okay, remember, civilians, they don't have any problem. It's one thing to sacrifice soldiers, okay, on a military battlefield against kinetic energy and other sophisticated ways in which to take somebody out, not the least of which are psychotronic weapons. But, all the hardware that they put, and the machines. These are machines programming other machines to run machine warfare, war games. So that's spiritual war, which is an energy war between spirits, between fallen spirits and rising spirits, fallen consciousness and higher consciousness. higher energy, lower energy. It's not able to maintain its state of awareness, so it's in a state of fear because it knows that as a result of what's happened to it's on the downward decline. Oh man, I've lost my connection to the main pipeline. Yeah. That's right. They lost their main connection to the main pipeline. And when you lose your connection to the main pipeline as a result of what you do to others, right? This is the result. That's why as a polarity integrator, my goal is to heal everyone. As if no war has ever happened. Ever. Because that's what eternity is. That's what I experience. So this is huge, right? See, that's why even when, 1970 came around when I turned 18 years of age, and back then they had the draft, it says drafting, like draft beer, that I would get a notice that they're going to put my ass in the military, and that just wasn't going to happen. It is impossible to weaponize my consciousness. Okay? Once, when you're an oversoul, forget it. I've had offers, apparently. I just ignore them. When you have lit yourself on fire as an oversoul, you have already chosen the one, to be with the one, which simply means you're experiencing eternity. You just lit yourself on fire. That's a full recalibration. Now you're back to zero. Hey, let's start all over again. Right? As if the universe just began again. It's like a reset of your own clock. It's like resetting a processor of a template that you just got done building. So you have the code that ignites it all back to the beginning from whence it all began. So now you're just back to the same center point of that cosmic eternal star that I've never left. But it's a matter of getting rid of all the goo. It's really what it is. Which are codes. As a result of how much you have to transmute. Which all represents fake timeline stuff. Energy that's holding souls captive as sources of energy. It's like they're like pieces that have been lost in space. Remember the movie Lost in Space? Hey, where am I? I'm just floating around in space. Like some piece of consciousness that can't find its way home. It's like cutting off the piece of an apple, and all of a sudden that piece of the apple just floats away. Hey, that piece of that apple was part of this apple at one time, a star. Hey, it's gone. So, if you got a tether or a tentacle, latched onto it, hey, it's still part of what I am. Yeah, pull it back in. It's like reeling the line back in, right? Reel myself back in, reel to reel. Reel to reel. 3 spheres. Keep it simple. 1 in 3. 1 in 300. 1 unit of molecule of water will cool 300 units of heat. Keep that fire cool. Water, baby. That is, any firefighter will tell you, water is the best extinguishing agent.